Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Be sure to check me out over on Rumble. There you'll find all of my stuff from YouTube, plus my political and social commentary and weekly current events, which YouTube frowns on. Links to my Rumble channel, as well as my other YouTube channels, and links to let you order my books are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons advice video on setting precedents. As a dungeon master, you have a huge responsibility. You control every aspect of the world your players adventure in. You control the NPCs, the villains, the nature, the physics, the cosmos, magic, gods, demons, devils, armies, kings and queens, monsters, everything in your world. You control it all. All of these factors must be balanced perfectly to allow your players to have fun in your world. They rely on you to create adventures in a fair and balanced way. You must ensure they have a clear and concise understanding of how things work in your world. Most of that is done pretty autonomously. For example, the laws of physics are pretty good rules to use because they're virtually universally known and they're pretty well understood. I highly recommend those. Those are good ones, the laws of physics. As for the magic and the innate paranormal abilities people have in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, these are the gray areas. You'll need to set your precedents with these particular things. Firstly, I recommend playing in someone else's game for several years so that you get an idea of what does and does not work. That's where experience comes in. All you got to do is pay attention. Now, we all know that sometimes playing in other people's games for years simply isn't possible. Very often, especially these days, a player with little or no experience is thrust into the position of Dungeon Master. That can be a bit overwhelming. We all get that. If you find yourself in that situation, remember the golden rules of being a game master. The first rule is to make sure your players have fun. As long as that's going on, you're good. You're good as gold. The second rule is consistency. The same rule you make now applies tomorrow and the next day and the next day. The rules have to apply equally to everyone. Consistent rules and consistent application of those rules. And the third rule is to challenge your players. They have to have opponents and or situations to overcome that seem monumental, even if they're not. Warriors have to be able to overcome surmounting odds. Wizards have to be able to thwart the plans of evildoers. Clerics will thrive on the more religious and moral problems. Thieves will want to plan the perfect heist for good or gain. These three rules are a good start. There's more rules than that, but those are the three main ones. As long as everybody's having fun, you apply consistent rules to everybody consistently, and you present a challenge for the players that seems overwhelming but isn't. You're good to go. Now, setting precedent. This is covered in the second of those three, and it's pretty concise. However, you have to be careful what you allow your players to do because they will expect it forever. I was running my very first campaign way back in 1979. Everything was going well, and they'd hit 4th level or so. I mean, there hadn't been any real major bumps in the road, as it were, so everybody was having fun. It was going well. There was a tavern, and the group had some downtime, so they decided to live it up a bit. During the party, one of my players, a thief, decided to douse the lights and use his infravision to rob as many patrons as possible with his pickpockets. The pickpocket skill. And he was reasonably successful until a wizard in the room discovered he had been robbed. He cast Fireball and the group barely survived the fight. The thief's infravision wasn't affected by the Fireball. Months later, when the thief was sneaking through an underground cavern, a fireball erupted from a hidden enemy. He failed his save versus paralyzation and was temporarily blinded by the blast, which is the way it should have been. There was such an argument, and rightly so. I had made a huge mistake by not having the thief roll a savings throw for the fireball in the tavern. The players were correct, and I had to play the current situation the way I had back in the tavern. Players never forget. They never forget. Somewhere in the back of their mind, there is an astute little cleric with a pad and paper, and he's, a pencil, and he's writing down every damn word you say. And they remember. They never forget. Luckily, in my situation, my players were understanding. When I explained that after the situation in the cavern, we were going to go play. We're going to start playing it correctly. They understood, and all was well. They accepted it, and we went on. Okay. The vast majority of players will probably not be so understanding. So here's the moral of the story. Be careful what rules you set. Whatever rules you set now will have to remain in effect throughout your game. If you try to change rules in midstream, your players will see it, and some of them may not be so accommodating. That's the consistency aspect in play. We all make mistakes. We all do. I do, you do, everybody does. We all make mistakes. The trick is to recover well and try not to, make so many of them in the future. You got to get better every time, okay? Remember, you may be stuck with the rules you make, so make them good rules. That's all I'm saying. And again, I'm not trying to tell you how to play your games, how to run your games. I've just got a lot of experience making a lot of mistakes, so I'm trying to give you the benefit of my experience. Hope this finds everybody well, and if you decide not to use any of my ideas, as long as you're having fun, man, you're doing good. Have a good one now. God bless one and all. Vanguard One, Devo Polan, a scientific representative from a pacifist race called the Gandhiri, has come to Earth to learn the one thing that humans do better than anyone else in the galaxy: to fight. In the sequel, Task Force Terminus, Earth is at war with an alien race called the Imdola. Devo Polan's new commission in the Terran fleet exposes him to bigotry and treachery, and he comes to realize that sometimes political and military maneuvering are one and the same.